so you've decided to join the Boros Legion. In the past, Boros was all about attacking first and asking questions later. Not much has changed, except it's time for a new generation, and with that, a new ability. Mentor. Mentor is a triggered ability that reads, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with power less than this creature's power. What this means is, say we do attack with Blade Instructor, a 3/1 with Mentor, and Sunhome Stalwart, a 2/2 with First Strike and Mentor. If you attack with both of them, the Sunhome Stalwart will get a +1/+1 counter from the Blade Instructor, making a 3/3. Also remember, if a creature has multiple instances of Mentor, each triggers separately, so be sure to stack them so you're not making your creature bigger for that last trigger of Mentor. First, let's go over some of the Mentor creatures. First, we have Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice, 4 mana, it's got evasion, 2/5, not the best, but can be the target of some Mentor triggers, so making itself bigger. Has its Mentor itself, so it can give +1/+1 counters to other creatures, and it can pump other creatures with its ability of +2/+0, Vigilance and Trample, if you know, the red and white. So it can do that to itself, and then make its power bigger, giving Mentor triggers to other creatures. On its own, this card is just amazing, such a bomb. Next we have Light of the Legion, 6 mana for 5/5 flyer. I'll play that. Plus it has Mentor, love it. And when it dies, you get the ability of +1/+1 counter on all of your white creatures. This card just goes in any white deck. On its own, it's great. And in a Boros deck, I mean, yeah, it's a little slow at 6, but this is sealed. I don't think Boros is going to be super aggressive. You're going to want this. But if you are super aggressive, hey, maybe you not play this card. But I don't see how you couldn't. Legion Warboss, 3 mana for 2/2 with Mentor. I mean, not exciting, but it does make its own army, except they do have to attack. So you're sending a bunch of 1/1s in to just maybe get killed, or maybe they're living and you get, just keep an army behind you. Maybe you have other creatures that give Mentor triggers, so you're sending both off, making them 2/2s attacking. Depends on what your deck has, but I do really like it. It's super aggressive. But late game, maybe it's not the best because you're sending 1/1s off to die, so that kind of sucks. Boros Challenger, a 2-drop, that's a 2/3. Yeah, that's great. Has Mentor, so you gotta have that. And the ability to just pump itself, so if you need to get Mentor triggers to go off, it can do that. It's just a great little card, and it's cheap. It's good early game, and it's fine late game. Per Hellion Patrol, this card's great. This is what you want in a Mentor creature because it has evasion. So you just send this off over all the ground creatures, get a Mentor trigger to go off, deal 2 damage, and has Vigilance, so it can hold back and block. Love it. Sunhome Stalwart. I mean, First Strike is always great, even in a 2/2. Maybe late game, this isn't, you know, the best card, but you get this down early, it's just destroying so many of the early game creatures, and so many creatures have only 2 toughness. So really good, and, you know, has Mentor to make things bigger. Because you're not really too afraid to send this off into combat because it's just gonna, you know, wreck a lot of things. Next, we've got what I think is the best common Mentor creature, Rojeck Bodyguard, 3 mana for a 3/3. That's fine, but can't attack or block alone. But then again, you know, you want to attack with something else because of the Mentor. I like this one because it has the, you know, 3 toughness, so it's not going to die all the time, and 3 power, so it's going to get, you know, some triggers off. Not a ton, but at least enough. Because if you just stop at like a 2 power, you're not going to get like anything unless you're playing 1/1s, and no one wants to do that. Next, we've got Tajic Legion's Edge. A really good card on its own. Comes in, attacks with haste, has the Mentor ability, but what's really nice is it prevents all non-combat damage that will be dealt to other creatures you control. So, you know, you're just protecting it from kill spells and stuff. And he gets First Strike for only 2 mana. Yeah, that's great. I wish he had a way to pump himself, but, you know, that's what you got other Mentor abilities for. But he has also 3 power, so not many going to happen to him. One way to get them, though, is True Fire Captain. Now, that mana cost, yeah, it's a bit much, but I feel like with all the gates, you're going to be able to do that fine. It's got 4 power. That's great for Mentor because there's not enough of the higher power. And whenever it's dealt damage, you just deal damage to target player. So say you could, like, dumb combat trick, you pump your opponent's creature when it deals damage to this, and then you can just throw it at the face of your opponent. You know, just something to look out for. Botching Sergeant. Now this one, I don't like that much, but it does have 4 power and Mentor, and you're going to need that if you want some of the later game Mentor triggers to go off. And it has haste, so it comes down, you attack right away, get your trigger go off. Now, it will die most of the time, but it will take something with it. Maybe something bigger, but most of the time maybe just a 2/2, which is sad. But if you really need your mentor triggers to go off, this is the way to do it. Goblin Banneret. Not very excited about this card. 1 mana for a 1/1 is not good, but it can pump itself to get mentor triggers to go off, which is mainly what you're using this for. You're sending this off to die, so you can pump someone else, maybe like one of your bombs or something. Blade Instructor, not the biggest fan of this card. It dies almost to everything, but it is a way to get mentor triggers to go off. I could easily see cutting this one. Now, Hammer Dropper, this card, it's got 5 power and mentor, which is nice, but 2 toughness. It's going to die to everything. This is only to get mentor triggers to go off, I feel like, and it's just very slow because, say, you play this, it goes to their turn, they just kill it. You know, you took maybe a turn off just to get this guy down to die. He's just so easily killed. I think I like the Boros Sergeant a little bit better than him to get triggers to go off, but 5 power, that's the thing. Now let's talk about the cards that want to be mentored. Skyknight Legionnaire. 3 mana for a 2/2 with flying and haste. Yeah, take that. It's got evasion. You get some 1/1 triggers on it. It just becomes bigger. It's attacking the air. Love it. Swiftblade Vindicator. I mean, yeah, those stats aren't impressive. It's just a 1/1 for 2 mana, but you just put 1 counter on it. It gets double strike, so it's attacking for 4. Vigilance, it can hang out back and block and trample, so it gets even bigger. It's just going over things. Ah, so good. Love this card. But only if you can get mentor triggers or have auras or something. Otherwise, it's just unplayable. Healer's Hawk. You know, a fine card on its own. Nothing, you know, amazing or anything. Maybe you'll ping for 1, gain 1. But you get just 1 or 2 triggers on this. You attack in the air every turn for 2, gain 2. That's tallies up, I'll say. So I'd play this. Maybe not like 3 of them, but, you know, 1 or 2. Rock Charger, give anything flying that's attacking. That's awesome. That's a way to protect your creatures that are being mentored, like your lowly 1/1s becoming 2/2s. Now they have flying, so nothing's killing them. Now let's talk about just the good cards in Boros. Swath Cutter Giant. I love this card. This card is so good. 6 mana for a 5/5 with Vigilance. So it attacks well, blocks well. And when it attacks, it deals 1 damage to each creature that an opponent controls. So if you're playing in Selesnya, oh, all their stuff's getting killed. There's a lot of cards in here that are like 2/1s and stuff. So yeah, it's going to be taking out a lot of things and kind of just makes combat really difficult because everything on their side is going to have 1 damage on it already. Hellkite Whelp, 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer. Not exciting, but I'll still play that. But the fact that it does 1 damage to any creature an opponent controls, love that. It can just ping things off or, you know, make combat a little bit more difficult. Talk about making combat difficult. Ornery Goblin. This guy, he's just really annoying. He goes in and they have to, you know, think about their blocks because if they block with a 1/1 or a 2/1, it just dies and he's fine. So he can take out anything that's, you know, 3 toughness because they'll deal 1 damage, then his 2 and kill it. So he can trade up very easily and yeah, really like him. Goblin Crater Maker. 2 mana for a 2/2 is always good. The fact that he can just deal 2 damage to any target kills a lot of things in this format. The colorless one doesn't really matter too much. Garrison Sergeant, 5 mana for a 3/3 isn't anything to write home about. The fact that it might have double strike sometimes, I don't know. If you have a lot of gates, sure, but if not, skip them. Rubble Belt Boar, 4 mana for a 3/3. That's a hill giant, I'll play that. The fact that they can pump a creature, maybe to actually get a mentor trigger to go off on something that's plateaued, that's nice. You don't want to do it to itself, of course, but yeah, he's fine. Nothing to write home about. Inspiring Unicorn. Now, this doesn't really work with mentor triggers, but the fact it just pumps your whole team, you're going to play that anyway. Don't think only about mentor triggers. Think about, you know, just good plays, and this one makes good plays. Intrusive Pack Beast, 5 mana for a 3/3. Not great. Has Vigilance. That's nice, but what you really want it for is it's tap 2 creatures, your opponent's control ability, so you can just get your attacks in, attack with something that's small, maybe, and you get your mentor trigger and it's fine, or, you know, just to attack to deal damage. Smelt Ward Minotaur. Just a fine card on its own. You can just play instants and sorceries that you're going to have in your Boros deck anyway. So say you play something to kill a creature and then this other creature can't block. That's pretty good. That's 2 creatures you're taking out of combat. Legion Guild Mage. Guild Mages are always nice. This one, it's fine. I like it. It's just the abilities are very expensive. 3 mana to tap a creature. That's a lot, but still very playable. And 6 mana to do 3 damage to each opponent. That's nice, especially late game. You need 12 mana to do 6 damage, but 3 damage each turn. If you're just stalled out, it can win you games. So let's talk about Boros Removal. Deafening Clarion. So we got 3 mana, nice and cheap. You can choose one or both, deal 3 damage to each creature, or creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. So will you ever use both abilities? Maybe if you have high toughness creatures, but Boros doesn't really have that. Mainly it's going to be an either or. Are you trying to wipe the board because you're falling behind? Or maybe there's a board stall and you need to gain a bunch of life to get back in it, or just, feel good about attacking. So either way, I like this card. It helps you if you're behind, helps you if you're ahead. Yeah, and a parity. Conclave Tribunal. It's your usual O-ring here, but this one can technically be free because it has Convoke. You'll always play these because even though Boros isn't about Convoke, it will have 1 or 2 creatures, you can Convoke and stuff. So this can be 3 or 2 mana, which makes it just a bomb, basically. Luminous Bonds is back. It's always great. That's all I can say about that. It's a great card. You'll always play these. Boros is going to want these because they want to attack through. Lava Coil, great removal. It's cheap. It's a little slow, but you're going to play this no matter what. Can't hit players. That kind of sucks. Command the Storm, not the most exciting thing, but 5 mana, deal 5 damage to our creature. You're going to play that. You want to kill things. Can't hit players also. Now, does Boros want Inescapable Blaze? Because it is 6 mana, but does deal 6 damage to any target. I think so. In sealed, yes. Draft, maybe not, but I think late game, if your Boros plan hasn't worked out, you just hit this for 6. You probably deal a ton of damage to them. Maybe it'll just kill them. Maybe it's going to take out their bomb. I can see in draft cutting it, or if in sealed you have just a crazy aggro deck, you don't play this. Direct Current, yeah, it's expensive, yeah, it's slow, but like I've said, 2 damage kills a ton of things. You're going to play this. And it's Jumpstart, which you can play it twice, so very nice. Justice Strike, not the most excited about this. It'll take out a lot of things, but there's just some things it will not destroy because there are some things with high toughness. And in Boros, if there's something with a low power, high toughness, and it's blocking you, it's going to be really annoying, and this is going to do nothing. Righteous Blow, not the most exciting, but can get things done. Take out tokens, take out, like I said, things with 2 toughness. So maybe you cut it eventually if you're playing a deck that has a lot of high toughness. During combat, you do this. If you've already dealt damage to a creature, kills them. Let's talk about some combat tricks. First, you got Take Heart. It's only 1 mana, so it's nice and cheap. And a creature gets +2/+2. I'll take that. Way to get your Mentor Trader go off. Way to just save a creature that you gave Mentor to. And also you get 1 life for each attacking creature. So if you're trying to do a Mentor Trader, that's at least 2 life right there. Integra Intervention. +2/+2 to target creature for 1 mana. That's fine. It's basically the same we just did. And then 3 damage and you gain 3 life for 4 mana. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, Lightning Helix was always great, and even at 4 mana, it's still great. Sure Strike, tried and true. This card is just a really good combat trick. Adds a ton of power because it gives first strike, so you don't need to add any toughness. And with Mentor, really going to just be pumping up some triggers there. Gird for Battle, only 1 mana to give 2 creatures +1/+1 counters. This is nice just if you want to pump up your team or you want to make something a little bit bigger for Mentor. If you only have 2, kind of sucks because the Mentor trigger still won't happen. But hey, whatever. It's cheap. Now let's talk about the cards I think are just bad for Boros. Chance for Glory. This card, don't play it. Yeah, it gives you an extra turn. And how many times have you played a game, you're like, oh, if I only had 1 more turn, I would have won this. But is that always true? Maybe your opponent had a kill spell or something, just direct damage, and could have killed you anyway. This is just taking a very big chance. It's going to sit in your hand for a ton of time till you really need it, till you can get that alpha strike that's totally going to win you the game. It's not worth it. Don't play it. It's just a dead card most of the time. Divine Visitation. 5 mana, do nothing enchantment. In Selesnya, this is just a bomb, but in Boros, this does literally 0. Boros doesn't have many ways to make tokens, we'll say. Yeah, pass this. Fresh Faced Recruit. This is just a 2-drop that's not good enough, I'd say. Yeah, it has first strike, on your turn, but most of the time, this guy's just going to die super easily. Hazda Marshal, this is so much setup for such little payoff. I mean, you're going to send this guy off with 2 other creatures. He's definitely going to die. And after all that, you're just making a 1/1 with lifelink. So yeah, not worth it, especially in sealed, where it's going to be super slow. This comes down late game. Just so bad. Gravatic Punch. I mean, this is basically Lava Axe, but not as good because maybe your creature doesn't have that much power. It's sorcery. It's only dealing damage to a player. It's just so bad. Even with Jumpstart, it's just don't play it. It's not going to do anything. Risk factor. Here you go. This is bad because it lets your opponent choose, and your opponent is always going to take the damage. And even if they couldn't, like say they were at 4 life, guess what? You're probably going to win the game anyway. So, I mean, it's just a card that most of the time is going to be like 3 mana, deal 4 damage, and that's not good. You don't want that. So, yeah, sorry. Just, it's never been good, even when it was Browbeat and did 5 damage. Street Riot, 5 mana for this ability is just too much mana. I mean, and it doesn't even do it on your opponent's turn. It's just on your turn. Maybe if it gave Menace or something then, but no, even then, just like, it's just too much mana. 5 mana is a ton. Now let's talk about Cyborg. Bounty Agent. So 2 mana for 2/2 with Vigilance. That's fine. I mean, you might actually play that. But I don't know. I sometimes feel like that's just not enough in Seal. It's a little too low impact. But if you are playing against someone who has, you know, a legendary creature or 2 that's just getting out of control, you can Cyborg this in, maybe hit it. If you're a low curve, probably just throw this in anyway and hope you can get a legendary creature with it. Citywide Bust. I say Cyborg this in because you don't know if you're playing against anything with 4 toughness. I mean, you could just play against a deck and they have 0 cards with 4 toughness, and this is a dead card in your hand. So Cyborg it in, check out that first game, make sure you check their toughnesses, and if they have a lot, put this in. Collar the Culprit, like I said, same thing. Check to see if they have 4 toughness creatures. If they don't, leave it out. If they do, side it in. Crush Contraband. Now, this is nice. It gives you 1 or both for artifact or enchantment exile. Costs 4 mana, which is a little lot, but sometimes you really need it. I'm going to say mainly for the enchantment, but like I said, Cyborg card, you want to see if there's anything that actually is worthy of 4 mana and a card slot. Cosmotronic Wave. Now this one you might main board if you're super aggressive because you want that clause of all creatures can't block, basically. If you're playing against Selesnya, you won't know that beforehand, so you don't want to always have the 1 damage. That's just you side it in if you're playing against Selesnya or a bunch of tokens. But yeah, 4 mana, that's a lot of mana. That's why I say sideboard this first, and then, you know, main board it if you're super aggressive, or side it in if you're playing against Selesnya and tokens. That does it for Boros. I feel like Boros isn't going to hold its own in Sealed. I feel like it's just too aggressive. It's mainly for draft, where you can just really get all the cards you need that are, you know, low cost and just run over people super fast. So you're going to have to splash, I'm going to say. And I think the best one to splash with is Selesnya, just so you can get all those creatures. Say you're making a ton of 1/1 tokens, you're going to be able to mentor them easily. Cards you're going to want to play with Boros and Selesnya are Conclave Guildmage. He's super cheap. He makes tokens late game and gives your things trample if you need it. I don't know how big you guys are going to get. Ameria, Soul of the Accord. I mean, freaking every time you convoke, you're just making 1/1s, more fodder for Mentor. Knight of the Autumn. This is just a great all-around card. You can make it a 4/3. You can destroy something of their like enchantment or artifact, and you gain life. So just an all-around good card to have. Ledeve Champion. He's cheap. He's 3 mana for a 2/2. He can make tokens, and he can pump himself if you have creatures, so great. Wish he had Mentor. That'd be nice, but oh well. March of the Multitudes. This card is just amazing. I mean, you're making a ton of creatures with lifelink. They're 1/1 sure. That means they can get Mentor easily. Also, it has Convoke, so you can make it cheaper. You're making more creatures to enable Convoke, so always great. Tristani Discord. You're pumping your whole team there. That's mainly why you're doing this. Also making tokens, which is nice. Only 2, but they have lifelink. The last clause does not matter. Assure a Symbol. Got a way to pump somebody, and a way to just make more tokens, so going wide, great in Boros. Flower Flourish, you got a way to mana fix, and pumping your whole team. That's great for Boros, that's what they want to do. I'd say if you're going to go, is it? Try not to, but if you are, just, you know, take some of the burn spells and stuff, but is it isn't really good for Boros, I'd have to say, sorry. All right, thank you so much. Stay tuned for my other guides on the Guilds of Ravnica. If you want to follow me on Twitter, booster_tutor, and see you next draft. This program brought to you by viewers like you.